Remember me.
Uh-oh, I totally didn't set the chat up so we could see it.
Uh-oh. Under chat.
Oh, gee. Oh, come on. Come on. Cooperate.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
All right. Hi there, Tackler. Welcome back to Disney Deep Dive, where each week we dive into the history, stories, and details of the Disney parks. I'm Leah.
And I am Stefan, currently
Setting
setting
up
up
the
the
chat,
chat.
Stefan. So, if you do not know, we do our show, Disney Deep Dive, each week. And if you are watching live, let us know where you are watching from. Say hello in the chat. It's always a ton of fun to engage with you in the chat box. And if you are watching the replay, talk to us there too. We will respond to you. But tonight, we want to do a little update.
Yes. So, tonight is a special night because this is going to be our last deep dive for a little while. I mean, obviously, everyone's going through a hard time right now. We are as well.
It's April 2020, if you're not watching live.
Oh, yeah, if you want to be historic about it. So this is, I mean, obviously you don't know because we've never done a behind the scenes video of this. But like each one of these takes like the better part of an entire day for me to like write up and like research and everything. And right now, with the way everything is, I can't really sacrifice an entire day because we need to be 100% focused on keeping our businesses alive.
Yes, we're small business owners.
Yeah, we're both entrepreneurs. We both like work from home, and we both make our living doing things completely on our own, relying on no one else. So we need to continue doing that, and in order to continue doing that, I can't sacrifice an entire day to do this. So we need to take a break for a while until things get back to some sort of semblance of normal.
Yeah.
To where I have a little bit of time where I don't feel like taking an entire day off is going to sink our entire lives. So
Right. Well, and just being super, again, like transparent. I think that's the best thing. I work in advertising, PR, social media. And one of the things I keep telling clients is being transparent, being open with people, because this is uncharted territory. This is not normal. This is a weird time. But we aren't making money off of YouTube. If you notice, none of our videos are monetized, or if you're watching in the future, hopefully they are, and we're making great money. But we don't make money off YouTube at all. And that's not, I mean, we really love this. It's a labor of love. We enjoy going live together. We enjoy doing this together. We both really love Disney, and we're very different in a lot of ways, and it's a thing that we both like, and we can kind of nerd out about it together. So it isn't that we haven't enjoyed it or enjoyed talking to you, but not a lot of people watch, and we appreciate you so much to those who do, and we love talking with you, but we don't have a lot of people watching. We're not getting heavy views or comments. We're not making money, and so it's not a responsible way to like for him to sacrifice, because he really does. I mean, I can just kind of pop on and be like, here I am with the script, but Stefan is spending, I mean, a chunk of the day to research all this. And it's not like one website where he just plugs this in. He's getting all sorts of stuff, and it's very time consuming.
yeah, so it's it's not like we set out to like make money off of this in the first place.
Right.
It was just for fun, and we just enjoyed it. And now we're at the point where it's like we can't have fun anymore because things are very serious.
Yeah. And I mean, we also too wanted to say, like, we're totally thinking of you guys. Obviously, number one is that you and those you love are healthy. Stay home. But if you are also small business owners or essential workers or anything like that, like, thank you. And we're thinking of you and wishing you all well during all of this. And if you really like these videos, share them out, share them out with your Disney community. We would appreciate that. But with that said, we do have an episode tonight. So we're really excited to share that with you. It is going to be Stefan's last one. This channel is not going to die. I don't know what I'm going to do. So let me know what you would like to see me do. I was telling Stefan when we came to this conclusion that one of the times my channel, I thought it was done. It was just, we were going through a lot. And a lot of things, he was still at his corporate job. I was not making any of my social media money like I am now, and didn't have my business, and my channel went to, like, I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna have to give this up. And then it ended up, I got re-energized and we started doing more stuff. So who knows what could happen. Here we go.
Yeah, we'll just figure it out. But today we are going to cover Soarin'.
We're gonna soar.
We're going to soar above the problems that we're all experiencing.
Ooh, that was punny.
So,
My
Soarin',
punny. Punny honey.
in case you don't know, also known as Soarin' over California, Soarin' around the world, Soarin' over the horizon, and Soaring Fantastic Flight is a flight motion simulator attraction at Disney California Adventure, Epcot, Shanghai Disneyland, and Tokyo Disney. It's a super fun ride.
It's awesome.
We've been on the one at Disney World,
In
obviously in Epcot. So we're going to be focusing mostly on the Disneyland version because that was the first one. That's where the story's at. But then also talking about the Epcot version as well.
All right.
So the initial concept for Soarin'. The story of Soarin' starts with the development of Disney's California Adventure, which is something I didn't know a whole lot about. We've mentioned it before. I've done like minuscule research about it, about how it came about and like what was there. But this ride really was born with the idea of that section of the park. The entire concept of DCA, which is Disney California Adventure, that's how we will refer to it from now on. DCA was to be a theme park dedicated to the history and culture of California, which I thought was interesting because I didn't know that either. That was what it was all based on. Like it just seemed like because we've got like Michigan Adventure here in Michigan, and it's not really a theme park based on the history of Michigan. It's more a theme park based on the exploitation of Michigan, and doesn't really celebrate much of anything other than come here and ride a roller coaster.
I've never been there. Did you know that?
I think I did know that.
Yeah, I've never been there.
Yeah.
I always went to Cedar Point. It was just as close and a better amusement park.
Yeah. And anyway. So
Midwest.
As part of this, Imagineers wanted to create an attraction that would celebrate California's long and storied history of aviation. Now, I'm taking this at its face value because I did not do any research in California's long and storied history of aviation, so I don't know what that is, other than they have really good weather, and I assume that lots of planes can take off and land there on a regular basis.
I'm pretty sure, too, they have a lot of, like, stuff for people who are becoming pilots. Like, I think a lot of them go there. Like, I think that's a thing.
I'm sure it is.
Probably a thing.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'm just
you
saying,
heard it here first. That's the thing.
So if you're being like, what storied history? I don't know.
Look it up.
I read a thing and I repeated it, so.
In 1996, the concept of the flight simulator type ride was being thrown around. So they were thinking, okay, maybe we can do something to honor the aviation that clearly, obviously,
they were looking
we're
to have a ride
known
based
for.
on this. So
yeah,
and flight simulators by then, I mean, the entire Star Tours ride was based on a flight simulator concept. So it wasn't anything that was new. Like flight simulators had long existed, and they were like, okay, well, how can we bring something new to the scene?
Yeah.
The idea that gained the most traction initially was a ride with an inverted track, like the rack of a dry cleaners. When you go to the dry cleaners and your stuff is like hanging on this rack that's motorized from above and it moves around. They were thinking something like that, but instead of jackets, it would be people.
Yeah, and they called that Ultra Flight. So that's actually a name that you can see on the tower consoles at California Adventure. So it is still honored
it's still a part
little
of it.
bit.
So, and it was really the same idea that there would be like a big Omnimax, like a giant like wraparound theater screen, and you'd be like flown through stuff, but it never really got fleshed out. And when they really started like crunching the numbers in terms of how many people they could get through, because what they imagined was like a series of levels that guests would be like moved on to. So it'd be like a 3 or 4 story system with these tracks that moved out, and then people would like all be like filtered into these tracks and then loaded up and then moved out into this ride, and then pulled through like this entire like flight experience system that they had. But when they really looked into it and like crunched the numbers, they were like, okay, well, how are we actually going to do this? What they found is that labor cost for like creating that sort of design would far exceed any budget that they were allocated. And they were pretty much just ready to abandon the idea completely because they were like, okay, well, we don't have any other ideas of how to make this a feasible concept, and this is going to cost way too much, so we should probably just give up on it. That is until a brief Thanksgiving break came about.
He got filled up on turkey, and things got better.
And Imagineer Mark Sumner had an idea. Now, this was really fun because this is when I went back to look at videos of this because I remembered, like, okay, for some reason I know a lot of information about Soarin.
Oh, I thought we were saying Thanksgiving. I was like, we know, baby.
That too. But about Soarin, and I was like, why do I know that? And then after going on YouTube, I realized it's because back in the day I watched a whole lot of Modern Marvels videos or shows on History Channel, and they had a whole Modern Marvels on Disney rides, and Soarin was
Ooh,
one
I'd like
of
to
them.
see that episode. That'd be cool.
And when I watched the old videos, I was like, oh, this is why, because I totally watched this like 7 times when I was younger. Where they go through like the entire description of like how the ride came about and what had happened, because I knew all these details. So what happened was Mark Sumner went home over Thanksgiving break and was thinking about this ride and this, like, okay, well, how, he still had this idea in his head, like, okay, we can make this work somehow. And he had sort of a concept, but he wasn't sure. So while at home, he remembered he had an old erector set. Now, for those of you who don't know, an erector set is a set you used to get back in the day. You probably can still get it now, but it would be these pieces of like
If you've seen
metal.
The Sandlot, the scene that they used to catapult the ball, that with all this building
They
is
built
with
it
an erector set. Yeah.
So it's like these little, it's little beams, tiny little metal beams with holes in them, and they're of varying sizes and angles, and you would have screws, and you could build stuff.
Classic old toy. My dad always talked about how his older brother is 7 years older than him, so his parents were like, here's some. It's like cool. There's like pieces that have nothing to go with them.
Yeah, so you could build all sorts of stuff. So he had an old one in the attic. He pulled it down, and he visualized a series of seats moving in a row forward, and then up several levels along a mechanism similar to like a tank tread. So when you think of a tank tread, there's like a bunch of wheels, and then it goes like through and then up, and then at one point the tank tread, the whole tread is facing out and up. And that's kind of what he was imagining, and that's what he built with this erector set. Let me just read straight off of our script here. Using an old erector set, Mark built a working model
like what Stefan's talking about.
of the system he had thought up and presented the idea to the planning team for the ride.
Yep.
The design would allow guests to be loaded on one single level instead of multiple levels, thus cutting construction and labor costs greatly and bringing the project back into reality. Because what they were dealing with before was there would be several different stairs or however they planned to get people to these different levels, 3-4 stories high, and then they'd all have to walk up and then move over, get loaded in, so you have multiple employees working every level. With this design, you had one level, which was the floor level. People would walk up, get loaded in, ride moves up, load the next group, load them in, move it up. So it took that initial concept and moved it into one single working area. Yeah. And made it feasible for them to actually build. So everyone loved the idea. They're like, this is perfect. This solves all of our problems. Let's roll with it.
And the next thing they had to do was then the film, because as we mentioned, so it's the idea that you're soaring over California.
And from the beginning, they planned on having a big like wraparound movie screen because the technology had existed, and that's what they were going to do was like film a grand,
all the cool
sweeping
scenes,
film, and have that projected so that people could see it. So yeah, they had to make that.
Actually had to make that film. Yes, it wasn't just given to them; they had to come up with it.
Yeah.
So Imagineers wanted to take guests on a trip through all the beautiful parts of California, all the scenic parts, like we mentioned, and the famous places. So think Hollywood sign, big mountains, etc.
Yeah, but the footage was more difficult to obtain than they had actually anticipated. In order to film in Yosemite National Park, Monterey, and Point Lobos, they had to secure legal permission because airspace over national parks is protected.
Didn't know
you can't
that.
just fly over that or in that. It took an entire year just to accomplish the shots in these 3 locations. So it took 1 whole year before they could get permission to actually fly over and film these shots. Now, once they got permission, it's like, okay, great. But then there's another obstacle. Other locations filmed were Tahoe, Palm Springs, Malibu, and Disneyland itself, of course, at the very end.
Hmm.
But it wasn't just the waiting for permission that caused the delay. Every single shot had to be perfectly composed. Now, if you've gone through the old California Adventure Soarin' ride, you know that like as you're flying over people, like they're like kayakers and they're like skiers and stuff, and that was all.
They put that in.
Yeah, it wasn't just people hanging out and they're like, "Oh, we're so lucky we got these shots." They put that in there on purpose.
Someone has to be skiing. Someone has to be kayaking. Yeah.
And sometimes relying on people to be in the specific place at a specific time, especially on like a
Nature.
river,
Yeah.
what didn't work out. So they would have to take multiple shots over and over and over, resetting the scene. Yeah, and I mean, imagine if like you're on a river, which some of the scenes were, and you're on a kayak going down this river, and then this drone or whatever, a helicopter, I guess, comes over, and then they're like, "Oh, we missed the shot. We have to reset." And then they have to go a quarter mile down the river to get off at the next stop point, van it back, and then get back on the river. I mean, that's multiple days of filming just to get that one, 3-second shot. I mean, when the helicopter goes over, it's 3 to 4 seconds. And it could be days to get that one shot. So, very difficult in that aspect. This created a lot of retakes and having to set up shots multiple times before they were perfect. In total, it took over 2 years to obtain all the footage required for the 4-minute and 51-second film. 5 minutes of film took 2 years to film. Mm-hmm. So you can see how there was a lot of just difficulty, a lot of things to like obstacles to overcome in order to get that particular footage to make it perfect.
Yes. And then the next task and challenge was creating the immersive experience of the ride. Again, if you haven't been on this, definitely look up Point of Views. It is a phenomenal ride. It was one of my favorites. It was awesome.
Actually, we didn't talk about our own personal experience.
Oh, yeah.
We should jump back into that.
Okay.
So we've been at the Disney World one. The only time I've been on it is when we went. Mm-hmm. And that was the like round the world, I think, version.
So yeah, we have not been on the updated Walt Disney World Soarin'.
Oh yeah. It was before that, but that's right. It wasn't the around the world one. It was right before that update, which we'll get into later on.
Yeah.
But it was the taking the trip from Orlando to California version.
Mm-hmm. And so one thing that I think is really funny that I always think, the ride's amazing. Which we'll get into a little bit more of this, but I love that it's all your senses, and it is a little, not scary, but when you take off, you kind of get that feeling, and it feels like you're moving and you're smelling things in your hair, and it's wonderful. But what I always remember about that ride is we went on it, and then with your brother and then your parents had a fast pass later because they were going to stay with the kids, I think is what it was. But so then that's why your parents missed our Tepen Edo reservation.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, something happened. I don't know if the ride shut down for a little bit. Wasn't that what it was? I thought that the ride.
No, I think we underestimated how long it would take for us to get to Tepen Edo.
Yeah, Tepen Edo is far, and we were like running, strolling, like just booking
we were jogging at one point to get there. Yeah.
But it was worth it because it's an amazing restaurant. Mm-hmm. Love it. And we actually were able to get your parents food. Remember, and then they could eat it picnic style. And they were really, his parents were really nice about it. But
they just didn't want to rush there. So they were like, we're just going to do our own thing. And you guys go ahead. And then we ran to get to their reservation.
It worked. Well, no, because we didn't even know that. We ran to get the reservation, thought your parents were coming. And they finally were like, no, we're not going to come. Mm-hmm. We got them food, though, because they were really super nice about that at the restaurant. But I remember, though, I was really relieved your parents liked the ride because I had booked the fast passes. So I was like, I would feel terrible if they're like, yeah, the ride sucked and we missed dinner, but they liked it. So it was fine.
But it was fun. I remember it was one of those, we were at the position where we were kind of out so we could look down and look up. If you really focus on being in the experience, it is an experience. You can immerse yourself in it and feel everything and be totally into what you're seeing. I, on the other hand, looked up and down and left and right to view everything else around me, and that kind of broke the fourth wall. And it didn't ruin it per se, but it definitely was like, oh, okay, cool, that's how that works. And oh, I see where that's at. So I was kind of like figuring it out as I was sitting in it. But then I got to enjoy the rest of it. So it was a really fun ride. I really enjoyed it. And it's one that I hope stays there because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a really cool ride. I enjoyed it as well.
Okay, so back into the immersive experience. First, what they ended up doing was because they wanted to immerse people into this idea of that you're flying through the sky. The idea was that you were flying in like a hang glider, not that you were in a plane or a hot air balloon or something, but you were in a hang glider flying around. So to tie into that, first they created a fan system that would circulate air through the canopy. So like in the seats that you're sitting in, it's kind of like a C shape. So you're sitting here, your feet go here, and then there's this like kind of airplane wing that comes over top. They filtered air through that wing so it would come down and then out and then back into your face. So it would like feel like the wind was blowing in your face as you're moving through the experience.
And I don't know about Mr. Not look at the fourth wall over here, but it worked for me. Like I loved that. Was my favorite part, was that they really, it's not just what you're seeing, what you're feeling and smelling.
Yeah, it totally
hearing.
adds into the experience, and it makes it more real than what if you were just like watching a screen.
Yep.
Tied into this system, though, the air system, is a machine that releases certain smells depending on where you're at in the ride. These include oranges, grass, and sea breeze.
Yeah.
Now,
Different in Florida, right? The scents are different, I think. So.
yeah, they are different. Those are the scents that were in Florida specific, or California specifically. In Florida, it was a little different because we were going over the entire U.S., but it was like, grass and still sea breeze, stuff like that. But this was like a technology that Disney already had, because if you haven't ever like looked into like the secret history of like Disney parks and stuff, then you don't know about like the smell-o-vision or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I think it's smell-o-vision.
Yeah.
But where you like as you're walking through certain areas, they pump in smells.
Yes.
And when you cross over a certain area into another area, there are specific like vacuums that suck those smells back in, so that smells aren't cross-mingling into other areas.
Music too. So when you're on, like if you're like on Main Street USA, there's certain music that they're playing. There's certain music, and all, not just on rides, but within the streets, within the
and it builds
like,
up and then
through.
dies down, and then so it's not mingling within.
And this is funny, but we mentioned this before, but we met at Abercrombie and Fitch, and they had, and still have, I think, but this whole thing on your senses, and of course everyone knows the fierce smell, and people know it's pretty like common that like you would spray the we call them forms, but the mannequins and stuff with the cologne. However, when we were working there, they actually got these spritzers installed, so they would spray every few seconds. So
yeah, it was
similar.
just like an automatic air freshener, and it would spray
Fierce.
the super strong cologne.
Oh, it will always take me back though.
That would penetrate the entire mall.
We may or may not have some room spritzers in this house. Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, they're like 12 years old now.
Like 10. Yeah.
Anyway, the seat that you sit in is composed of mesh, so that you can feel the air flowing past you, like through you, and then going behind you. So like the mesh seat was just designed to be like, okay, well, if you're like going through the air and there's nothing behind you, obviously the air is going to flow back, and you feel it like flow like over your shoulders and stuff. So they created the mesh seats to simulate that sensation. So you're still sitting, but you can still feel the air moving past you. Then there's the soundtrack, composed by Jerry Goldsmith, who also composed scores for Chinatown, The Omen, Alien,
Poltergeist, Mulan, which is a favorite of mine.
Gremlins, and many, many others. Those were just some of the favorites that I pulled out of there, because Alien, Poltergeist, Mulan, and Gremlins.
I mean, that's
holy
epic.
cow.
And the music, I mean, if you've been on Soarin', the music just pulls you in. So it's no surprise that he's someone who has done scores for some really, really famous soundtracks.
Yeah, because the idea behind the music was like they wanted to be this epic sweeping sound that just drew you in. and kept you looking forward, so that you didn't do what I did, which was look up and around and be like, oh, what's going on down there? Oh, look at those people. Oh, look at that. They wanted you to be totally immersed. Obviously, it doesn't work on me. But,
Oh my gosh. Can you guess his Enneagram? We recently figured it out. Anyhow.
but that was the whole point. And the thing is that Jerry Goldsmith was like all about it. The design of the ride system also allows the seats to be raised and lowered in time with certain parts of the film to further add to the feeling that you're actually flying. And that is just
I remember the taking
because
off being a little scary.
yeah, because it's on this curved track,
Like
they
you
can
fall.
move it up and down so that you like go like out and forward and then up and then back and down, and they can add a little motion to it to just add to like the swooping shots where you're going whoa whoa whoa, but it doesn't take a lot to really give you that feeling. So, despite the hurdles they had overcome, Imagineers had Soarin' up and running for Disney's California Adventures opening day on February 8th, 2001.
Which doesn't sound that long ago, but I mean, we're looking at close to 20 years. So it's been around for quite some time now.
And then, due to its immense popularity, a version was then opened in Epcot a mere 4 years later in 2005. And that's the one we were on. So moving on to updates and refurbishments.
Yes. In 2015, DCA's Soarin' closed for refurbishment. So it was open for quite a while without any major refurbishments. We mention this all the time, but sometimes rides will have little updates here and there, spiff them up, but we're talking major refurbishment.
And you're talking about a ride that had like a major technological component, i.e. the giant screen. So they updated the exterior theming and they updated the screen and projection system within the ride. From January to March 2016, the attractions operated as Soarin' over California intermittently in order to prepare for the introduction of Soarin' around the world, which is what we mentioned earlier. The original film was shown until June 15th of 2000
Five. No, 15.
16. Or 15. Yeah, 15.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait. No, 16.
All right, you go.
With the attraction being closed on June 16th to prepare for the new film debuting on June 17th, 2016. There
15,
we go.
16, 17, boom. All right.
We got it.
There you go.
A new theater was added to the ride, which allowed an average of 500 extra guests per hour to move through the attraction.
We talk about this all the time. This is huge. Disney wants to get as many people through a ride as possible. They want a quick loading ride with lots of people. The more people who can get through in an hour, the better.
Yeah, because historically this was a long queue. Because it's not like an Omnimover ride where it's just people constantly loading and loading and loading and loading. This is people load on the ride, it does its thing, they get off, more people go on. So it's not a constant flow. It's like load, wait, load, wait, load, wait,
Yes,
load, wait.
like Peter Pan.
Yeah, so it takes
Goodness.
forever. Adding the extra theater helped relieve some of that tension and open up the queues so that more people could get on in more time.
Yes, and the new film features shots from around the world. So instead of just looking at California, they're looking at Switzerland, Greenland, Australia, Germany,
Tanzania.
Tanzania, China, India, Fiji, Argentina, the U.S., and France.
And Egypt.
Oh, and Egypt. Missing a couple of them there. There you go.
On May 23rd, 2019, Disney announced that Soarin' over California will be temporarily returning to the park, so very recently, running throughout the entire month of June 2019. Now, this was mostly in part due to the fact that people didn't. In Epcot, it was fine. In Epcot, people were like, "Oh yeah, it's a world.
You're opening things up.
Or it's a around the world kind of place. You're supposed to travel around the world. It makes sense." In California, especially at Disney's California Adventure, a lot of people felt like this should still be the California Adventure.
Especially those who were either locals or who had grown up, like that was their home park. That had meant a lot to these people. So then to take that away, they were upset.
And Disney was responsive to that. And in the interim between when they had brought it back and when they were going to close it down, they decided to extend the operation of the old ride to August 31st, 2019. And then it was supposed to be running from February 28th to April 21st of 2020. Obviously, that's not happening because Disney is shut down.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to be going on until now, and I'm assuming that they were deciding like that they were just going to keep it. I mean, they kept it going for almost an entire year, and people kept visiting, and they were like, "We're extending, we're extending, we're extending." I think they were making the move to be like, "Okay, we're going to extend it and make this permanent, and then have two different rides." Because why wouldn't they? It makes perfect sense. Like in terms of theming, which obviously Disney is big on, that's one thing that they would pick up on and be like, "Okay, well, people here want this ride." People in Florida want this ride.
Yes.
We'll just do
one
that.
other ride that we actually haven't talked about this, maybe at some point if we ever come back for a special episode, but is, someone's like, stop saying these things. Tower of Terror, the version at Disneyland, and how they've taken it from just the regular one and done the Guardians of the Galaxy, which the sides on that is split. People love the original. I mean, it was a cult favorite, cult classic. But people love the Avengers one. I mean, it is very, very split because I watched
the ride through multiple times of the Guardians of the Galaxy version.
It's awesome.
It's really cool.
It's so cool. It is so cool.
Like I understand. Like I love Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. Like I think it's awesome. I love the sentiment. I love the decor. Everything about it. But wow, that's a cool ride.
Well, and I think that's why it's so split. And it's really interesting because a lot of times the rides like that, it's like, oh, you don't mess with the classic. People like it. I mean, it is very split. Every thing I've read, it's pretty 50-50.
Honestly, as long as they keep one of them, I feel like it's totally okay.
Like, you mean one of the parks?
Yeah. Like, as long as Florida doesn't switch over to the Guardians ride, then I think it's fine. If they switched over to it, I'd be like, why are you doing that? Why are you killing a classic? Like, as long as there's like one of each, I don't see the problem. Like, people visit both parks all the time. It's not like Disney World's main like group of people visiting are like locals. Like, it's people from all over the world. And I'm sure same with Disneyland. Like, I'm sure there's a large component that is like locals coming to visit. But I hear all the time of people who live there, and they're like, I haven't been there in like 20 years. And it's not because they can't, it's because they just don't go.
Regional guests, I mean, not that they don't get worldwide, but they get more regional. So like, say like a lot of people like in Arizona, Vegas, people who can kind of like get over there in, a day or whatever, just a quick drive. Like how it's not quick, but we could drive to Florida and it wouldn't be near as long as us driving to California.
Oh, yeah. You're talking like 2 days as opposed to like 4 days. So, moving on to the fun fact lightning round.
All right.
Fun facts. The original Soarin' at Epcot actually replaced a show called Food Rocks. It featured audio animatronics singing educational food songs. I encourage you to go look up pictures and videos from that attraction because it was utter insanity. It was like singing food animatronics.
Sounds like Sesame Street.
Oh, it was crazy.
Like all the singing vegetables.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just weird.
Veggie Tales.
Singing. I don't understand what they were thinking with putting that in there. I mean, it's supposed to be like maybe it made sense at the time, like teaching people about food and food. I don't know what they were teaching you, but it was just insane. So go look at videos of that because it's a lot of fun to watch and then laugh at. Oh, in the scene, I just thought this was funny, so I want to put this in here. But in the scene in the original California version, where you're going up the mountain and you see like skiers and stuff, this one guy jumps off this huge like rock. Like you're going up and you're like cresting the mountain, and there's a little like cliff area, and this one guy just kind of like comes over and then jumps off the one cliff and then totally just crashes and biffs it into the ground and then slowly gets up as you move past him. And I just thought it was hilarious. They were like, yeah, it's okay. That guy totally just face plants. That's fine.
Yeah, well, and you put here, too, Jerry Goldsmith, after riding it the first time, left the ride crying tears of joy because it was so hilarious.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Composer Jerry Goldsmith thought it was amazing and left saying that if they made like a movie out of it, he would compose the music for it for free because he just thought it was so beautiful. So, very interesting, and it was obviously a labor of love for him.
Oh, I thought that it was because he thought it was so hilarious that the guy fell off the thing. I thought that was one thing. No.
Oh, no,
I was like, well, that's hilarious.
There should be another paragraph there.
I thought it was that you liked the skier.
Nope. Definitely meant to put a space in that line. Those are two separate thoughts.
You see, grammar matters, people.
Anyway.
A majority of things you see are completely real on the ride, which is really cool. So all of the scenes they shoot, it's actually happening. However, the hang glider you encounter was digitally added to the film, as was a golf ball that's coming right at you from the golf course.
Which, I mean, that one's obvious. Like,
yeah.
If you're on the ride, you're like, of course, that's not real. But yeah, the golfers and everything, that was all digitally added later on to just add more of a, I don't know, realistic feel to it.
Yeah.
But the hang glider definitely got me, because there was a hang glider on the version that we were on, and I was like, oh, how interesting that they got those guys to come right into frame, and never once thinking that they were digitally added later after the fact. So
they did their job
I was
well.
tricked.
Yeah.
And though the original DCA version had you flying around California, the original Epcot version had you flying on a trip to California. And this is why cast members at the Epcot version would wear flight attendant style uniforms, and the DCA cast members would wear like airfield crew uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
Because the one was supposed to be like you're taking like a commercial flight from Florida to there, and the other one was like you're taking like an adventure flight like around, like you're the pilot. So just a fun little
extra, Disney extra, which they're so good at. Their theming is something they do so well.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that is it. Hey, congratulations. Congratulations. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and be sure to let me know in the comments what you would like to see me do. Maybe if you come up with some fun stuff I can do that he would not involve Stefan researching for hours, then let us know, because I definitely want to do some fun Disney stuff on this channel. So let me know what you would like to see, especially as you are quarantining. I do want to say thank you to our friend Dean from the Live Place. He is such a wonderful human. Definitely check out theliveplace.com. Support everyone on there. There are some wonderful family-friendly live streamers and tons of Disney related people. So definitely check it out. He streams for us, or did stream for us, and we are so appreciative of him for that. And we want to thank you for following along. You can always find me on Instagram. I am at Leah Tackles, which is linked in the description box.
I'm at the Mitten Print Shop.
Yes. Do you want to say anything about the Mitten Print Shop?
Yeah, we're selling shirts. We have our whole retail store on there now, so go ahead and check that out. We were traditionally a wholesale screen printer, but due to everything that's happening, we're branching out and trying to sell onesie-twosies.
Yeah.
So go ahead and check that out. We have all sorts of cool stuff up there and more stuff coming.
My favorite sweatshirt ever, which is being discontinued, so if you want one, check it out. There's a really awesome mustard color that Stefan wears all the time, and there is a striped one, which stripes, I'm not a pattern girl, I'm all about the neutrals, but I do love some stripes, so it's good.
And we're getting hats.
And we're getting hats, so we're excited for that. And share it, like it, subscribe if you have not already. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you're just seeing this and you're like, oh my gosh, no, we have a whole playlist. We have 33 of these. So you could be busy for quite a while as you are staying home and staying safe. Thank you guys for watching, and we hope that you have a wonderful, magical,
fantastic
day.
Life. Till we see you next time.
Yeah.
And we'll see you later.
Bye.